Welcome to Tulsa Titans, highlighting our local professionals who are making a difference. Today, I'm extremely excited. A guy that I've watched a lot, especially when we have weather coming through, Mike Collier. He's a chief meteorologist at KJRH. Mike, how you doing?
Kelly, I am doing great. It's really an honor to be on here with you, and I appreciate it. Anytime that I get to talk to people like you, this is really kind of what I'm in it for. Is that conversation and reaching out to the community.
Well, perfect. We're going to have fun. Get us started by just telling us a little bit about you, and feel free to go anywhere you want.
Yeah. So, a quick story. I started when I was 6 years old with my passion for weather, and I'll tell you what happened. It was a very tragic time in my life. Very close to my uncle at a young age. He and I loved him to pieces. I mean, he taught me golf. I mean, I know I was only six, but those were very memorable years of starting young with him, going to golf courses. He loved golfing. He was young. It was just a wonderful, gentle, a kind soul. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with leukemia and passed away within like 7 months. It was quick and it was devastating. It was just absolutely devastating to me. But one thing I do remember is going to his funeral, and it was raining because I grew up Catholic. So, we have it's a week-long process. And it was just raining the whole week. And by the time it was done, I remember going home with my dad while my mom stayed back behind. I went home with my dad, and the most beautiful rainbow came out, and the sun shined, and it was glorious. And there was something that God instilled in me in that point in time in my life, was a fascination with weather. It clicked right there. It was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do in life. I'm going to work in weather. I have to follow this passion. So I knew since that age that this is something I wanted to do. I started when I was 16 on the radio on 106.9 K hits in the morning of doing their weather for their morning show, calling in before going to high school. It was hilarious. I was a nut for weather. So I did that. I got an internship at Fox 23 in Tulsa, and it was called First Weather on Fox 23. It was before they even had a newscast. And it was 3 minutes of weather, like at 10 o'clock. And I would go after school and intern there Monday through Friday. Matter of fact, it was kind of like the Seinfeld episode that when some changes were being made, they're like, yeah, so you keep showing up every day, and we really don't have you in the books. You can't come back. And I was like, oh no, this is my life. This is what I want to do. And by the grace of God, I actually got a part-time job with them as their weather producer, and I was 17 at the time. And so I did that and graduated high school from Bishop Kelly here in Tulsa. And I just remember emailing Travis Meyer when he was at Channel 8 and said, hey, look, I'm over here. Kind of want to go for the number one station at the time. I want to work for you, Travis. This lifelong dream. He invited me over one day, and I was hired within a week. And I became his right-hand man for 5 years while I went to school. Went to the University of Tulsa, and worked myself up from weather producer to weekend evening meteorologist to weekday morning meteorologist. Spent 5 years on that, and then eventually worked myself up to the chief meteorologist at Channel 8. And so obviously I'm no longer there anymore. God had different plans for me that I would have never have ever imagined, my first 15 years at Channel 8. But one of my former bosses became the vice president of scripts. And, there was just a close connection I always had with him, always admired him. And we knew that the company had been bought out by someone that I was not a big fan of, and allowed me to go to a better company. And so I made the switch. It was not easy. It was probably one of the toughest decisions I ever had to make in my life. I remember that day, my wife was just bawling. She's like, what are you doing? You just became chief at the place you grew, I worked for 15 years. And I was like, it's a God thing. I don't know. I just got to go with it. And it has been a really, truly wonderful decision. And I have the utmost respect for all the people that still work there. I know they've gone through a lot of changes, but it was just the right decision in my life at the time. And it did change a lot of things in the path of my life as well, from where I was just in troubled waters, I would say, to getting out of those troubled waters and heading to a smoother sailing path. And and kind of like the old saying, or the Bible verse, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And that was kind of the thing that helped me change my life into a more positive direction. So that's kind of the whole quick spiel of it. Sorry, I'm a talker, so I apologize, Kellen, for just rambling on at times, but that's kind of in my DNA. So hope you understand.
No, it's fantastic, and it flowed really, really well. There's a lot there. One of the first things that I want to say, because of what I noticed, so where you're at now, I see you everywhere. I personally think you do a fantastic job. You're engaging. I have relevant information when I need it, but literally you're everywhere.
Thanks,
And
Kellen.
so I see you on Facebook. I see you on other social media platforms. I can tune into the news. What's one of the things that you've kept up with? Because it can be overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
Is absorbing all this content that
Yeah.
that you've either kept up with or you do daily that's helping you to stay that professional and staying at the forefront of everything.
It is, I have a friend that is one of the GMs with Pilot Trucking, or one of the vice president of Pilot Trucking, and he's been with Gap and other companies, and their motto is adapt or die. And there's a lot of truth into that. Simple, but it's adapt, and it's constantly adapting. It's not like let's wait a couple of years and figure out. It's every day I have to figure out mentally, okay, the trends are going towards Insta. Threads is now finally starting to kick back in again. TikTok, still a lot of people are there every day. As much as some people say they don't like it, there's still a mass quantity of people there. It's constantly trying to figure out how can I reach my audience, and it's adapting daily, and it's not easy. It's frustrating. Facebook's going through changes right now on how much reach they want. I mean, they've always done this, but more so now on what they want you to post, and they will penalize you for not posting what they want you to post. And so it's constant adapting. It's frustrating, but it's also a fun game at times too.
Yeah, and it sounds like you do all the necessary hard work. Something I'm hearing though, you sought out the best at the beginning of your career. You weren't afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Because of relationships, it's taken you that and God doing a course correct to where you're at now.
Sure.
But then again, you immediately mentioned somebody in your close friend group that you probably draw some influence off of or encouragement off of and follow. Can you speak to the people that you put in your life and the people along your path and how they've kind of imparted knowledge into you and how that's helped you on your journey?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. That's a deep question. I have, I think, I don't know if this, I can only speak for myself, but I have a close few friends that are really close, that are ride or dies, that are there till the end, and who I trust my life with. And then I kind of have that outer ring of people who I admire, but because busy lives, we just can't connect a lot. But I really respect their intellect, their business abilities, their faith, whatever it might be. But I've got this outer ring of people that I really trust as well, but that I just don't get to be around as much as I'd like, especially with 3 kids, and how that, and working 2 to 11 Monday through Friday. So I'm my days I feel shrunk sometimes. But I try to keep people that can help keep me balanced in life as well, and hopefully that I can give something back to them. I don't know what that is, but maybe the weather forecast.
Well, and how, I mean, you've stayed in contact with them, but how important is it that you've had that discernment or that you've taken the initiative to ask the right people along the journey? Speak to the audience kind of about that, is knowing that you have to ask people and surround yourself with people to get where you're going.
Yes, life is all about relationships, and we're going in this world where we just want to be so much alone and isolated. And truthfully, I think we all need to be running away from that. I think it's the people in our lives that bring us, happiness and joy, and get us out of depression and funk in our lives. I really think we need to be running towards people and getting more integrated with people and not be so judgmental. I see it a lot, like, oh, this person's not my style. How do you know that? Have you sat down with the person? Have you talked to them and give them a fair and honest shot? That's kind of my belief, because I have friends from all walks of life who are I'm one that just lost a job, and I'm trying to help him through that. To others that are incredibly successful, to others that probably nobody wants to be friends with, but I can find the joy in life and find the positive in people. And I think that's what people really need to be seeking, is trying to find these positive, find common ground, and find a way to form these relationships will help, I think, really build our hearts even bigger as we move forward.
Yeah, and I can completely speak to that. I work in the technology industry. If you just follow the data, as we've fallen victim to looking at our phones and
Mm.
isolating or even working from home, uh, especially if you're an introvert, the data shows that if you don't have human interaction every so often, even though you think you don't need it, you just dry up, and
Yep.
it's mentally taxing. And so you're spot on. I do
Well,
want
it's
to ask
funny.
you.
Oh,
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
It's funny because you said you saw me at dinner the other night. Unfortunately, we didn't get to talk, but I'm glad we are now. But each night I kind of have set aside dinner with friends because I'm here on Brookside, and I live far away, so I can't really get home. So like tomorrow night I meet with a close friend. He's my Tuesday night dinner friend. On Wednesday I meet with my mom and her boyfriend, and the Thursday nights I'll meet with another close friend. So I have these I just love to meet with people and interact with them and hear what's going on in their life. So I invite you to do that on it, find some days for friends.
That's excellent advice. I think, especially married, kids, career. Um, I sat down with a group of guys who run a men's ministry, and we
Hmm.
had a whole hour talk on, like, let's find our fun again. Like, I
Yeah.
asked them, as a man, what did you used to do for fun?
Hmm.
And the common theme of when it stopped was when the title stopped of husband,
Hmm.
dad,
Sure.
president, vice president, and we still love those same things, and we love to connect with people. And so you're exactly right. If we're what's happened is we have full schedules, and so if we're not scheduling those activities into our schedule
Yeah.
before we fill it up, they're just going to be gone.
Yeah. And I couldn't imagine my life without these friends that meet me just for dinner. I would be empty and void. So I appreciate them so much.
And then I want to kind of change directions because you mentioned we saw each other the other night, and then we caught up on that before we started recording, and
Hmm.
we talked a little bit about your past seasons, so the last couple of years and some of the major changes you've made. And I know society as a whole, we've looked and things have really changed directions the last 2 or 3 years for everybody.
Yeah.
They're not what they were in 2019. Can you speak to some of the things that you saw for yourself and some of the changes that you made and what you're focusing your intention and your time on now?
Yeah, it's been about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't talk about this much, but I feel like there are so many people that might be suffering or having the same issue as well. So, unfortunately, I had a pretty much a gambling addiction or a gambling problem, and that ended 5 or 6 years ago. And I say I've never really kept track. Oh, that's the last time it was 5, 6 years ago. Might have been 7. I can't remember, but I started when I was 21 and went to Vegas on my 21st birthday. And I had no clue. I was just spending money like, whew, who cares? And as I got older, it became, well, I got married and then I had 3 kids. And unfortunately, the stress of life I couldn't handle. And so my coping mechanism in life was to go to the casino. And it was a dark path that I was going down. It was horrible, and luckily, by the grace of God, I was able to uh, turn it around and realize the problem I had and accept the problem I had instead of saying, "Oh, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out." No, it wasn't going to be all right. And talk about a complete 180. And I truly owe it to God for helping me. I was able to go to a wonderful counseling, Plumb Line Ministries here in Tulsa. They did a phenomenal job helping me out as well, trying to figure out, well, what's the why behind this, versus, well, just don't do that. That's the simple thing in life. But let's try to figure out deeper why. Why is this going on? And when you're able to touch into those roots that dig deep down into your soul, and you're able to find those dead ends and to be able to kind of, you're never going to fix them completely, but to identify them and realize them, it makes things a lot easier in decision making moving forward. You start to understand, well, this is why I did that. So what could be a healthier option for me if I'm really stressed and can't handle the daily life of kids and money and all that? What are some of the healthier options I can have, and to build my arsenal in a positive light? And I've, by the grace of God, been able to push that forward now for 6 years, and so much better. And we were talking offline about this before, but I have gone so far to just say, you know what, God, I put it all on myself and took me to a really dark place in life. I'm giving it all up to you. Anything and everything is all on you. And we had the Powerball. We hear it on the news, like, oh, it's at record territory. I don't even purchase that. Not even $1. I'm like, hey, I'm giving it all to God, and I'm going to let him handle it. And since I've done that, he has blessed me more than I could have ever dreamed in my life. And I will be forever, not to say that that has to continue or whatnot, but I'm forever thankful for driving me from the depths of darkness back into the light. And it's constant daily drive. It's not something that you just like, oh, it's cured, it's fixed. Do I ever have any oh man, I wish I could go to the casino? Luckily, it's probably been now about 4 years since I've ever thought, oh, I need to go, maybe I should, maybe I like could go back. But now after this much time, it's not even in my mind. And I go home from work every night and I pass one, and I'm just like, I just pray that anybody in there that is having issues can find hope and find God's grace and God's love, and to help them in a situation and help them turn their life around too.
Well, that's incredibly powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Along the same lines, you and I were talking, not just about that, but just one of the other seasons in life where you had to really make some cutbacks when your boy turned one. And I've got something I'm going to share that I think surprises a lot of people. So when my son was really little, I had a toxic addiction to the gym. So
Okay.
rather than getting stressed and digging into the word and just sitting in quiet and seeking God, I'd go work out. But I couldn't just go to the gym and work out. I got into that toxic season of, I'm a guy, so I have to lift really heavy because I'm capable of doing these things and I've been known for these things. As I age, I have to continue to do these things, and it was tearing my body apart. Right.
Yeah.
Looked up for my kids and I'm like, no. I really took it back. I had to fight mentally. I redid my whole workout structure. I tried to cut about 15 pounds off because you get too heavy if you're eating a ton of food and lifting really heavy for the sake of lifting heavy things as a guy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people look up to that, but it can be a really toxic thing, especially as you get older. And you mentioned you had one of the same things with food, where
Sure.
your
Yeah.
boy was aging. You're like, listen,
Uh-huh.
this is not a good path for the sake of what God's put in my life and what's important. I'm going to make some cutbacks. Can you talk to that?
Excuse me. Yeah. So my son was turning one, birthday cake. We had everything for his birthday party, and then right after that, we're like, well, let's go to Hideaway and get. I love Hideaways. I still eat Hideaway. I'm not saying you can't eat this stuff, but I just was just piling on, and I was at 220 pounds, and I thought, I can't sustain myself like this. I want to live a long life. I want to be healthy for my kids, set a good example. And that next day, I just flipped the switch and did intermittent fasting. That was for me the key. I think you got to find something that can switch that gear in your head to help you, whatever it is. Find that and go with it. And then hopefully that takes you in a more positive direction. I don't intermittent fast anymore, but I have changed my diet considerably to where I'm not eating junk Monday 7 days a week. It's definitely more protein. Look, I am nowhere near as shape as you are, so I'm not trying to say I'm the best in shape, but going from 220 to right now where I'm at 190, and I fluctuate. In the summer I'll probably go down to 180. In the winter I kind of go back up, but I now have these safeguards to say, this is what I should be doing, this is what I should not be doing, and I just kind of keep in those middle lane there and keep that going. So it was a big turnaround in my life as well. And by the grace of God, I was able to turn that car around.
That's incredibly powerful too. And I'll say this: I'm so thankful for people like you, Mike, that go through a season, they make a change, but you're in the limelight. You choose to talk about it, talk about the struggle, talk about the change, what worked for you, how your mindset had to change, because so many people are going through this and they're not talking about it. And I
Sure.
know running our men's ministry, I think we've seen over 4,000 guys now. Everybody has something. It may not
Yeah.
look the same, but we
Uh-huh.
all make the mistake of justifying that people won't understand, and we're
Yeah.
going through this alone. And so, one of those powerful things you can do is voice it, bring support into it. And one of the things you did is swap the habit. I mean, you've created a habit, so put something healthy there. And I'll tell you this: I
Right.
hate cardio. I I wish I could remember the book. I'll tell you in a minute. Oh, it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. You
Okay.
read And so it's habit stacking. Is if you're doing one thing, do something else productive.
Hmm.
But what I found too is I hate cardio. Like it's boring. I like outside, but you
Yeah.
mentioned winter, summer. I don't like indoor cardio. You don't go anywhere, and so
Right.
it does nothing for me mentally. I
Sure.
started getting some books I need on audio that I really enjoy, and so I'll
Mhm.
consume all my audio books while I'm doing the cardio. I don't like it. Makes it enjoyable.
I totally agree with you. That's me. I have my Apple Watch and I'm committed to at least 11,000 steps a day. Love to have more, but that's my goal. I'd show you mine right now, but unfortunately I told you this before and I've been sick all week. And it was actually kind of nice because I sometimes like you, I kind of just get too or like you have in the past of too involved in working out constantly. It was nice just to like take a break and not like feel like if I don't work out, then that my life is ruined. To take a step back and just relax was actually very rewarding this past weekend. So, but yes, I'm a guy that's got to get my rings closed, got to get my steps in. I walk a lot and podcasts I listen to the most, and now I have a new one that I can add to my list. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome, brother. Thank you. Well, and you talked about a dark season,
Mhm.
and you talked about it very clearly of the toxicity of what the driving action was to get some comfort that wasn't healthy. The
Sure.
world calls those vices, and
Mhm.
we all kind of have them. Um, what did you replace that with? You said you found some freedom, and you kind of talked about your faith. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that? Now, when the valley hits, where you go to, what the
Yeah.
difference is for you?
So I know you probably want to hear something like profound that, I climb a mountain every other day, but sometimes in life it's the simplest things. And the simple thing for me was to talk about my issues. If I'm going through stressful times, to be able to I didn't want to upset my wife. That's one thing I did not want to upset her. And I didn't feel like and this is not on her, this was all me. I didn't feel like the love was reciprocal, meaning I didn't feel like if I talked to her, she didn't love me. That's not true. She loved me immensely, but I didn't want to give her that credit. And so what I found was to be vulnerable and open up to her and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. It's not perfect. It sucks. I don't want to upset you, but this is it. And she's my partner. And that really switched a whole gear in our marriage and our lives. And I know it's very simple, but it's more just communication and saying, I'm really stressed about, I've got this at work. This is overwhelming to me. This is going on, with the kids. And I know you've got your work and I respect that, but I got to get this off my chest instead of just running away from it. And that's what I was doing. I was running away from it and not communicating and just stuffing those negative vibes down deep down where they eventually have to get out at one point. So, it was very simple communication and knowing that she loved me for who I was and not how I acted. So it really strengthened our bond in our marriage as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's so important. Is whether it be your wife or a close friend, we have to have somebody in our life that loves us for us. It's
Yeah,
not what we
right.
accomplish, what we do. They have another human that they walk life with and they care about them.
Hmm.
So we've got to open up and be able to share. Man, one last question. You
Yeah.
and I both like the compound habit on the cardio machines, right?
Yeah.
If you had to scrape down the mobile device to just 2 podcasts that have really impacted you, or a couple books, what would you suggest and why?
Okay, so I love fantasy football. I love fantasy football. I don't know. I'm very competitive. So my friends and I, we have fun with it. And there's a Harris football podcast that I listen to that I really enjoy. And this is kind of the season I'm in right now. So I'm listening to that, and the CBS fantasy football podcast as well. It's funny that you listen to these people every single day, and then you kind of feel like you're just part of their family. It's quite interesting. So I have to say I'm a football nerd, so that's kind of where my mind's at right now.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. As people dig into the content, if they have a question for you, or hopefully
Yeah.
if somebody's going through a valley and just needs to say it, is the best way to get a hold of you on LinkedIn? What's your preferred method of communication?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, Facebook is great as well. Instagram, any social media I'm constantly looking at, so you can reach out to me. And I don't know if I've ever shared about these, like the particular about the gambling. I don't know if I've ever shared that. So I have to say, when I was sweating a little when talking about it, because I've really never voiced it out to the whole general public. But I think that for you, if you are dealing with that as well and you need someone to help, at least I can help you, guide you to some wonderful counselors, and give you at least some the advice that I went through in life. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I would be glad to help out. I mean, because God switched me in a very positive direction, and at least I can do in life is help someone else out as well.
Well, you're out at the front of the pack, and I can tell you this, Mike. When you brought up the gambling addiction, mine's been other things, but two of the men that have had a huge impact in my life, and then if others knew who they were, I mean, they've kind of been big time, right, from the
Mhm.
view of humans. If we look on and see accomplishments, both of them had gambling addictions that had to break. And so, the point of that, no matter what it is you're not going through this on your own. This
Sure.
isn't something that's just affecting you.
Yeah.
You can't not tell other people because they'll judge you. People have struggles, so just get out and voice it. So thank you very much, man, for being vulnerable enough to share it, and then also to break the first sweat sharing it with me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It feels good. It feels good. And I really do want to help someone out. I mean, if you think you're in a despair of no return, trust me, I was there and I thought I would never, ever, ever get out of it. But there are many ways to turn the corner and head into positive light. There really, truly are. And I've got some tips for them if they want to reach out.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you. This is Kellen Cowan. I'm the owner of New Wave Solutions. Mike, man, thanks for giving today.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it.